Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, April 16th. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Mo-kyan. Our top story this morning, the first summit between South Korean President Moon Jae-in and U.S. President Joe Biden will take place in Washington next month. Seoul's top office said that the summit will be used to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and ways to strengthen their alliance. For more details, we have our senior Blue House correspondent Kim Min-ji on the line for us. Min-ji, fill us in.
Right, Morgan, President Moon Jae-in will hold his first summit with U.S. President Joe Biden in Washington in late May. The Blue House said in a statement early on Friday that the two sides are working to finalize the date and will let the public know when it's confirmed. Now, the summit comes on the invite of President Biden. The two leaders had previously talked on the phone in February and reaffirmed the need to meet in person at an early date. The White House also said that President Biden is looking forward to welcoming President Moon in the second half of May. The visit will follow the recent 2+2 talks in Seoul and the National Security Advisors trilateral meeting in the U.S.
Now, Min-ji, without a doubt, North Korea will likely be on top of the agenda. What can we expect to be on the table?
Well, Seoul's top office said that it is looking forward to in-depth discussions on ways to continue to develop the ironclad Seoul-Washington alliance, as well as cooperative measures to achieve complete denuclearization and lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula. The U.S. has been holding a comprehensive review of its North Korea policy, so it's expected that Biden could share his views on the new strategy. It's also likely that the talks will include ways to bring North Korea back to the negotiating table. Now, aside from Pyongyang issues, ways to improve South Korea-Japan relations and cooperation against COVID-19 and climate change will likely be up for discussion. And there's also speculation that Biden could ask Moon for participation in the so-called Quad, which currently involves the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India to counter China's rising influence. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Morgan.
Thank you for that update, Min-ji. And now, moving to the COVID-19 situation in South Korea, the nation reported 673 new COVID-19 cases Friday, staying near the 700 mark for the third straight day. Of those cases, 652 were local and 21 were from overseas. There were 2 more deaths, raising the death toll to 1,790. As of today, a total of more than 1.3 million people have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, elsewhere, COVID-19 is seeing a resurgence worldwide, with numerous countries seeing rapid upticks in daily infections and deaths. On the other hand, Israel, which has been ramping up its vaccination program, will soon lift mask requirements for people outdoors. Choi Min-jung reports.
Many countries around the world are continuing to grapple with the rapid resurgence of COVID-19 infections. Japan's nationwide tally of new COVID-19 cases on Thursday reached over 4,500, the highest figure recorded in nearly 3 months. The uptick was led by an increase in cases in Osaka, which has been reporting all-time high figures of more than 1,200 cases for 3 straight days. According to Japan's NHK News, the government has decided to add 4 more prefectures to those being placed under a quasi-state of emergency starting this coming Tuesday. Brazil is facing a humanitarian catastrophe due to the government's failed response to COVID-19. This is according to the NGO medical agency Doctors Without Borders, which urgently called for effective and coordinated measures from authorities to prevent further deaths. According to the medical group, Brazil accounted for more than a quarter of global COVID-19 deaths last week. With the recent spike in cases in Argentina, the government has decided to toughen COVID-19 restrictions in the country's capital. The measures come after the country witnessed record-high daily figures this week, peaking at over 27,000 cases on Wednesday. Beginning Monday, schools will close, and indoor sports, religious, and cultural activities will be suspended until the end of April. While some countries struggle to contain the spread of the virus, Israel has moved a step closer to normalcy. The country's health minister on Thursday announced that people will no longer have to wear masks outside. The lifting of mask mandates will begin Sunday, but people will still be required to wear masks indoors. In the past 4 months, more than half of the population have received second shots of the Pfizer vaccine. Compared to January, which saw more than 10,000 daily confirmed cases, the country is reporting significantly fewer at around 200 cases a day. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
America's top disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says he expects the pause on the use of the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine to last for days or weeks, but not months. Speaking to NBC on Wednesday, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases says the situation isn't expected to drag out and that the recent halt on use of the jab was out of an abundance of caution. He added that reported blood clots in patients are a very rare event and that those who have gotten the Janssen vaccine weeks ago can rest easily. President Moon Jae-in is highlighting the semiconductor sector as a core strategic industry for South Korea, as the country is one of the world's biggest exporters of the products. He says it's time to boost investment and foster other emerging industries. Our political correspondent, Hong Yi, reports.
Amid a global semiconductor shortage, President Moon Jae-in says that South Korea aims to become the world's market leader. During an expanded meeting of economy-related ministers on Thursday, President Moon called the semiconductor industry a core national strategic industry and pledged to keep South Korea at the very top despite fierce competition.
지금 세계가 맞이하고 있는 반도체 슈퍼 사이클을 새로운 도약의 계기로 삼아 종합 반도체 강국 도약을 강력히 지원하겠습니다.
Other nations around the world, such as the US and Japan, are also competing to become the leader of the world semiconductor market by trying to reassemble the global supply chain for it to be centered around their own country. But the South Korean government will announce its strategy to support the country's semiconductor and battery industry within the first half of this year. This includes a system to improve the weak supply chain, readjusting the amount of tax deduction for research and development, as well as for investment in manufacturing facilities. For the automotive industry, the government will come up with ways to support the development of secondary batteries for eco-friendly vehicles, as well as to foster industry experts. For the nation's shipbuilding industry, which accounts for more than half of the world's orders, the government will boost labor forces needed and help with the digitalization and greenification of ships. President Moon has also ordered ministers to loosen excessive regulations on companies that could stifle innovation. The government seeks to cooperate with diverse industries in order to open a new era for South Korea's manufacturing industry. Hong Yu, Arirang News.
Citigroup will shutter retail banking operations in 13 countries across Asia and parts of Europe to focus more on wealth management. According to Thursday's announcement, the decision comes due to a lack of scale to compete in countries including South Korea, Australia, China, Russia, and Vietnam. The focus will now be shifted to Singapore, Hong Kong, the UAE, and London. It has also beaten analyst estimates for first quarter profits with strong investment banking revenue and a bigger than expected release of loan loss reserves. The bank saw profits of almost $8 billion, triple what it made a year earlier, with share prices coming in at roughly $3.6, exceeding the $2.6 market estimate. The Japanese government's recent decision to discharge radioactive water from its Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean sparked immediate criticism from its neighbors. Under pressure from all sides, the International Atomic Energy Agency is calling for transparency, vowing that the global body will help Tokyo throughout the process. Our Kim Hyo-sun has the details.
The chief of the IAEA has called for transparency in Japan's decision to release massive amounts of radioactive water into the ocean. Speaking to China's Xinhua News Agency Wednesday, IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi said the international body will ensure no harm is done to the environment or people in nearby dwellings. Underscoring the importance of transparency, he said the IAEA will walk Japan through the entire process.
The role of an international, neutral, impartial monitor or inspector, depending on the activity you are looking at. So this is nothing new for us. We have been doing this for more than 70 years, and we will continue doing this.
His remarks come amid deep concerns and disappointment expressed by UN human rights experts, warning that Tokyo's decision could impact millions of people across the Pacific. In a joint statement, 3 independent UN human rights experts expressed regret, saying there are alternative solutions. Beijing, which has also expressed deep concerns, summoned Japan's ambassador to China on Thursday to protest.
It is extremely selfish that Japan wantonly and unilaterally decided to release the nuclear wastewater into the sea and shift the burden and risks onto others in disregard of the safety and interests of the international community, its Asian neighbours in particular. To protect the health of their own people and international marine environment, China and the Republic of Korea, as Japan's close neighbours and stakeholders, expressed grave concerns and strong dissatisfaction.
North Korea also denounced Tokyo's decision Thursday, strongly urging Japan to immediately withdraw its decision to prevent, quote, a new catastrophe for the humanity. The regime's state-run news agency said the release would cause a vast amount of dangerous substances to spread across the Pacific within days. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The United States has slapped new sanctions on Russia for its alleged role in interfering in the 2020 presidential elections, as well as various cyber attacks. Washington's move was backed by the EU and the NATO. Our Lee Seung-jae has more details.
A broad wave of sanctions were imposed on Russia Thursday over its alleged role in interfering in the 2020 U.S. presidential elections, as well as a number of cyber attacks against American government and corporate networks. President Biden signed the executive order to strengthen his administration's response to Russia. The U.S. Treasury Department has blacklisted 6 Russian tech companies that provide support to Moscow's intelligence services. The Treasury Department also sanctioned 32 entities and individuals over their roles in carrying out Russian government-directed attempts to influence the 2020 presidential elections. 8 other individuals and entities were sanctioned over their roles in Crimea. The Biden administration is also expelling 10 personnel at the Russian embassy in Washington, including members of Russian intelligence services. According to the White House, the sanctions are also a part of the administration's response to reports that Russia encouraged Taliban attacks against U.S. and coalition personnel in Afghanistan. Washington reportedly received intelligence reports that Russia offered to pay bounties for dead American troops. According to EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, on Thursday, EU member states expressed solidarity with the U.S. over the move. His statement specifically noted Russia's involvement in cyber attacks. Borrell says Brussels remains strongly committed and determined in their solidarity with their international partners in promoting a global, open, stable, and secure cyberspace. NATO also backed the U.S. sanctions, condemning Moscow's buildup of Russian troops along Ukraine's border. In a statement Thursday, it accused Russia of violating Ukraine's sovereignty, as well as interfering in U.S. elections and engaging in malicious cyber activities. Moscow vowed to respond to what it called illegal sanctions. Washington's measures are expected to further escalate the already heightened tensions between the world powers. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Myanmar security forces on Thursday reportedly arrested one of the main leaders of the country's anti-coup protests, explaining that the 25-year-old man has recently emerged as one of the most high-profile leaders in opposition to the coup. Reuters said that he was arrested after the police rammed him with a car as he led a motorbike protest rally in the central part of the country. Also on the same day, soldiers opened fire in the city of Mandalay to disperse protesting medical workers, leaving 1 dead and several others wounded.
Good morning. We had a spring rain to start the week, then a spring chill in the midweek, and now yellow dust to end this week. The capital region had a sporadic rain earlier in the day, but after the rain, yellow dust will sweep in. And it's going to boost dust levels across Korea, while dust levels in central regions will get worse tonight. Meanwhile, during the day, skies will get sunnier for most upper regions with cooler afternoon highs compared to yesterday, while the south will stay cloudy for most of the day with warmer afternoon highs. And it looks like it's going to be dusty through the weekend with passing rain along with thunder and lightning in store for Saturday. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.